Hey everybody, Ultimate Oddball here. One of the most common expressions you'll hear when talking about autism is theory of mind. Theory of mind is defined as the branch of cognitive science that investigates how we ascribe mental states to other persons and how we use the states to explain and predict the actions of those other persons, by the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, an online peer-reviewed academic resource. The common claim is that autistic people struggle with theory of mind, and this results in less empathy and an increase in social misunderstandings. I don't believe that this accurately represents the reality of the situation, though. It's important to keep in mind that theory of mind is still a theory due to the inherent difficulty of observing the mind of another person. My biggest issue with this idea is that the assessment of whether an autistic person demonstrates typical theory of mind is conducted by a non-autistic person who naturally will base their observations and opinions on their own experiences as well as internal bias. Autistic minds work in an inherently different manner from the non-autistic mind. Assuming that autistic and non-autistic people would demonstrate theory of mind in the exact same way, then, seems illogical. A meta-analysis of studies on theory of mind and language development showed a moderate to strong correlation between the two. There are many proposed reasons why. I wouldn't be surprised if the bias factored in due to the ease of communication that would likely exist between the person doing the assessment and the person with high language skills being assessed plays a part. Not only are there differences in communication between autistic and non-autistic people, there are differences in how empathy is expressed, differences in assumption and point of view. The analysis to determine one's theory of mind is inherently wrapped up in the experiences, biases, and point of view of the person conducting the assessment. From the outside, it's easy for anyone, autistic or not, to misunderstand the views of another. When you add in the implicit bias that comes from stereotypical views of autism, and the level of surety often expressed by doctors when it comes to their areas of expertise, it's easy to see how the accurate assessment of theory of mind could be compromised. One potential example of this is expecting an autistic person to outwardly express themselves and present themselves in the same manner as non-autistic people, especially with regards to empathy. Some studies have addressed the language issue partially by de-emphasizing verbal language in the testing, specifically in some variations of the false photograph test, which is good, but instead use a preferential looking paradigm. As I said before, eye contact and visual engagement varies quite a bit between autistic and non-autistic people. Because of this, even a test which utilizes these alternatives likely has its outcome affected by these factors. It's also necessary to take into account things like difficulty with vocal inflection, both in controlling and replicating others, alexithymia and the effect that having problems with defining or recognizing emotion causes, and the overall different way of processing and interpreting information that autistic people experience. There is an innate assumption that if a person doesn't show an outward reaction to stimuli, that they must not be engaged or aware of what's happening. The issue with that is autistic people are often more engaged when they appear disengaged, because these coping mechanisms of not making eye contact or not speaking can help tremendously with paying attention around others. Keep in mind that this belief that autistic people lack theory of mind is not simply a matter of semantics. The stereotype that autistic people are incapable of empathy, of putting themselves in others' shoes, the misconception that autistic people don't care about or consider others, that we're all disconnected from the world and unaware, that we lack or shouldn't have personal autonomy. As I've said time and time again, language matters. Well, thanks so much for watching, thanks for coming by, have a great day. Hey everybody, Ultimate Oddball here. If you want to stay up to date with my videos, click subscribe. I release a new video on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do gaming commentary and review. I talk about my experiences on the autism spectrum, and I share my opinions and thoughts on a variety of matters. My hope is that, through my videos, I can help to dispel some of the misinformation, confusion, and negativity people have regarding autism. Thank you for helping me do that by watching these videos.